There's a new IRS-backed savings account vehicle for children, and it's called a Trump account. Welcome to MyExpatTaxes, where we're giving you all the breaking developments in tax law, especially for us expats. So this new investment account is essentially like a traditional IRA, an individual retirement account. However, it's specifically for children under the age of 18 who are US citizens with a valid social security number. There's a lot of information in that, so let's dive into it and see what this all really means. So why is this like an IRA, and what is an IRA in the first place? If you know IRAs, they are individual retirement accounts, and they normally come in two popular flavors of traditional or Roth IRA. We do have a whole YouTube video about that, so please check that out if you need those basics. Now, IRAs are really interesting because essentially you can put in money and it can grow in a tax advantage way, and why not? That sounds great, to invest for your children in a tax advantage way until they're the age of 18. And at that point, they can decide what they want to do with the money. So that sounds great. And you're probably thinking, well, why do we need a Trump account if we already have these traditional and Roth IRA accounts? And that's because traditional and Roth IRA accounts, there's actually a requirement that that person has taxable compensation. So while this may work for, different celebrities, if you watch any personal finance social media accounts talking about how you should open up IRA accounts for children, it doesn't really work for the normal family because probably your child is not working and they don't have taxable compensation. And this is where the Trump account is gonna be a game changer because you do not need to have taxable compensation for your child to contribute. So it will be like an IRA. It'll have those tax advantage, characteristics, but there's no requirement for taxable compensation, and it's specifically for children under the age of 18. We don't know all the information yet. We don't know exactly what happens when they turn 18, if they can roll it over. At the current moment, the IRS guidance is that it will be similar to a traditional IRA, and that the child will have the ability to control the account once they turn 18. They could potentially take out the money for education, or they can keep it in a traditional IRA-like setting. Another regulation is that the funds must be invested in certain mutual funds or ETFs that are tracking the S&P 500 or primarily American stocks, right? So basically, I think the investments should be towards American companies is what they're trying to say. Again, regulations are changing day by day. You should definitely look at the IRS websites for the latest guidance about what you can invest in. But just keep that in mind that it is made to invest in the American stock market, primarily in some type of pooled fund like an ETF or mutual fund. So how do you actually make the election to open this Trump account for your children? Well, again, there are some conditions to be aware of. The first one is that your children, they have to be under the age of 18 in the year you make that election, in the tax year. So if you're making the election for the 2025 tax year, they have to be under 18 by December 31st, 2025. The second part is, of course, they have to be US citizens with a valid social security number. We know how important that is, right? I digress. And then to actually make the election, technically what you need to do now is you need to file Form 4547. And that is included in your tax return and electronically filed with your tax return. So again, it's pretty important that you use a tax software that can help you e-file, especially as expats. And coming to expats, it is available for expat families. As long as your children are US citizens, under the age of 18 with a valid social security number, it doesn't matter if they're living in the US or they're living abroad. If you look at Form 4547, there's actually even a spot for foreign addresses. Form 4547 is the form you're gonna need to do and include in your tax return in order to make this election. So again, the accounts are opening later on. What you would do is ideally make the election sooner than later that says you want to create these accounts for your children that qualify. Form 4547 is pretty straightforward. It just says, okay, who's the responsible person that's going to be the custodian of the account, and who are the qualifying children that an account should be open for. So what you would do is you fill in that information, you would e-file it with your tax return, and then that information would already be there, in that system so that when the accounts are created, you'll be notified so that you can go ahead and follow up with that, account opening process, whatever that may be once we hit, mid 2026. As a part of this new program, they also have what's called the pilot contribution. So if your children are born between January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028, the US government would actually make up to $1,000 contribution into their Trump account. So essentially, they would help you open up the Trump account, and then they would put $1,000 into it for you to start investing already. And that is, again, only available for children who are US citizens with a valid Social Security number that are born between December 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028. Children under the age of 18 can have the account, but this pilot contribution is only available for those that are younger. Just a reminder here, there's a lot of things we don't know yet. So I'm definitely really excited about this type of IRA account for children. Like I said, I think that if you look at any type of personal finance, social media account or guidance on the internet for families and children, they're always like, you should open this for your child. And I've always been like, but I can't because my child doesn't work. And I don't really feel like sticking them in a webinar so that I can pay them a salary, right? With that being said, there's a lot we don't know. So while I'm very excited about that, just keep in mind you should do your own research because right now the information is very limited. The IRS is just saying that it's a different type of IRA account that is for children. It's gonna mimic that traditional IRA kind of quality of it being pre-tax and tax deferred, meaning you'd put in contributions. It's a little weird because you have to actually make after-tax contributions because they don't file tax returns, so there is no tax benefit from the contributions. We'll see how the IRS tends to work that out, but they say it should be like a traditional IRA, and once they're 18, they should be able to either take out the funds for education. Again, I don't know the exact limitations to that. I don't know if there's any other reasons that you could withdraw the money. And then they said you could also potentially roll it into another IRA account. Just keeping in mind, rolling accounts into different IRAs can cause taxable events. So definitely exciting, but it's something we have to stay on the post for to just figure out, okay, well, what are really all of that tax rules surrounding it? So again, there's not a lot of information out yet, right? It's kind of coming out day by day, but essentially these accounts would start in the middle of 2026, calendar year 2026, right? So it's important that you get the election out sooner than later so that when the accounts do start, that your election is already in place and that you can have the account open already. It's also stated on the official websites that you could still contribute during the growth period. So technically, as these accounts open, there would be something considered the growth period of basically until your child is 18. So between the moment when the account opens and your child is 18, you could potentially contribute $5,000 per year or maybe more, we don't know, but initially it's $5,000 into that account. Again, this would not include the pilot contribution. So if the US government does make that pilot contribution, you could still include another $5,000. So it's limited to $5,000 that you or someone else would put into that account for your child, obviously excluding that pilot contribution from the US government. So if this is interesting for you and your family, look no further because MyExpatTaxes will make that election for you. You can just sign into MyExpatTaxes.com easily when you fill out the information about your dependents, because they do have to obviously be dependents on your tax return. They have to be children under the age of 18 with a valid Social Security number. You can just check a box to say, I want to open up that Trump account for my child. We would then include Form 4547 in your tax return. You should e-file it. And then at that point, if your children do qualify for that pilot contribution, we would obviously check the box so that they get that pilot contribution for you. So I hope you enjoyed learning about all the latest tax developments for this upcoming year with MyExpatTaxes. We get you, we're here for you. If you want to stay up to date with all the relevant tax changes for us expats, subscribe to MyExpatTaxes and MyExpatTaxes.com. We are the tax software that gets you and gets what you're going through.